Hey, supply chainers, wherever you are in the world, this is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. We are just after the holidays, and so this is going to be a fun one. We've got Audrey Ross with me today. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, the Blended podcast, and the founder of the Blended Pledge as well. And I hope you all had an amazing holiday season over the last couple of days. I don't know about you, but I did a ton of driving in the snow, which was a bit anxiety ridden, not gonna lie. Holding on to the doors, white knuckles. But my husband was a trooper and got us through and got us home safe and sound. And so I hope you all had a good couple of days. Anyways, let's talk about what we're going to be talking about today. We're also going to talk about what is new and happening on Let's Talk Supply Chain. So let's start with that. We've got a brand new episode 314, and this is with Hunter from Lean Solutions Group. He is super excited that this episode is out. So go and show him some love over on our social media. We posted it yesterday on the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn page. We've already got quite a bit of great feedback, so we'd love to hear from you as well. We talk all about how to break through business borders. And what that means is, what are we looking for as far as talent, and how can Lean Solutions Group help you with that? And what it looks like when we look across the borders and really take a look at what talent is out there. And so definitely go and check out that episode because they have so much to say on this particular topic. And this is their area, this is their niche. They are helping so many customers and businesses in supply chain with their particular solutions. So you definitely need to go and check that out. Next, I don't know if you guys saw this, but last Thursday we went live with our first ever game show, Superstar Game Face, and we had a lot of fun. These three teams got together and we did, I think, 5 games. One was an Oreo challenge. One was we had to ask them questions, true or false questions about supply chain. The feedback that we got on this particular episode was awesome. So we're going to put that link in the comments for you. Go and check it out. 48 minutes of supply chain fun that you're not going to want to miss. And we've got it over on our YouTube channel. What else is happening? Oh, Flexport. They came out with a blog, the 2023 Supply Chain Planning Playbook, predictions and advice from global logistics experts. Now, we've been posting this across our social media because you guys asked for supply chain trends. What do you guys need to think about for 2023? This is an article for you to go and check out and make sure that you stay on top of those trends. We've got a few coming at you over the next couple of weeks because we want to make sure that you are super, super prepared for your supply chains in 2023. And this is a good place to start as well. So go and check this out. We've put the link in the comments for you. And actually, Flexport is going to be on the podcast coming up at the beginning of 2023 as well. So stay tuned for that episode because it's really going to be a good one. And you're really going to be able to find out what they're talking about. Plus, we go live a couple of times. So we're live today, as you can see. And on Thursday, December 29th at 10 a.m. Eastern, FarEye is going to go live with successful last mile deliveries, the holy grail of happy customers. So you guys asked for trends. We are coming up with those trends for you in 2023. And one of those is customer experience, especially around last mile deliveries. And we're going to talk a little bit later in this show about Porch Pirates. And so definitely go and check out that particular episode. I think we've already got 50 people attending. And so you don't want to be the one that misses out on that. Next, we've got a brand new blended episode. I know, bear with me. We've got a lot to get through because we have had so much happening over the last week. Episode 27 of Blended. This is about addiction. And we had some great guests, including Angie Reno, talking about their stories, talking about what it's like to live with addiction, either with yourself or a family member, and how you can support somebody in your organization that's going through that. So really, really good episode. Check that out. We've got the links in the comments. And then, of course, last Friday, I was on No Bullshipping with Hope White. And we had a fantastic time talking about trucking, talking about trends, talking about what we can expect in 2023. So go and check that out as well. And I think that's pretty much it. So now it's time to bring up our guest for today. All right. Hey, Audrey, how are you today?
I'm good.
How was your holidays?
It was nice.
Good, good, good. I see you're in the office today. So excited that you could join us today. I know it's your day off, but you've decided to go in and do some work. So tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I'm Audrey Ross. I'm currently the Import and Export Compliance Manager at Orchard Custom Beauty. We're a private labeling company specializing in beauty tools, cosmetics, and bath accessories. I'm also the co-president of the Organization for Women in International Trade, the Toronto chapter. Yeah, and I keep busy.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we always love to have you here. I want to give some shout outs over on my personal LinkedIn. We've got Mohammed, we've got Rajesh, we've got Pratik, we've got Ahmed, and we've got Boris. Thank you all for joining us. We've got a couple of people in the audience here today too that I need to get to because we had a huge introduction. I didn't realize how many things we had to share with you all today. So thank you for bearing with me with that. So let's talk about the poll. What did we ask you guys last week? So the question that we asked you, and you know that we do this every single Wednesday morning. So head over to the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn and participate in the poll. We had 728 votes on this one. How far do you travel for the holidays? Well, 45% of you said inside my own house. I love that because with all the snow that we're getting, I mean, I like that a lot. 38% said within the country, 15% said international, and 2% said other. Comment below. I'm going to go check that out and see what they said. What about you, Audrey? Where do you fall in this list?
Sorry, it was where am I traveling to?
How far do you travel? Inside your own house, within the country, or international, or other?
Yeah, down the street. So.
Okay, I know. You know, I did ask for an option like that because within the country, I mean, if you're thinking about Canada or the US, I mean, that could be a pretty large area. But I would say for us, it's down the street as well, really. It's only about 20 minutes. And then we drove 3 hours. Well, we drove round trip 5 hours yesterday. So within the country, but seriously, within the province still, really.
My dad came up and saw me, so.
That's kind of international. Does that count for international? I think it does.
That's cross-border, but yeah.
I mean, a 5-hour round trip, I feel like is international because we actually, it felt like forever. I mean, the 3 hours going 50. I mean, I
don't feel like you're a road trip person in the same way some of us are.
I don't think so either. But when you're going behind a snowplow for like, I don't know, you like I said, 10 kilometers. We had a snowplow in front of us, and like the kilometer countdown went really, really, really slow. So I think that yesterday I kind of traveled internationally. I could have if I went in the other direction, right? Because then we could have crossed the border, except for the borders were closed because of all the snow that we're getting, which is crazy town. Crazy, crazy. So anyways, yeah, we had some great comments and had a lot of you talk about. So Steven says, I usually fly around the country to visit family and friends and deliver gifts. What are you, Santa? Lisa says, happy holidays. And she actually traveled international, not necessarily for the holidays, but she is traveling international right now. And I think
has she actually gotten out though?
What?
Has she gotten out though? I saw her at the airport. I don't know that
she did. She has landed in Korea. And her next stop, I think, is Vietnam. Caroline says 7-hour drive too far. See, I'm not the only one that complains about the road trips in the snow. And I don't even think she has snow to contend with. And Rich says about 40 miles to my mom's house. I love it. See, we should have had another option that was like, you know, between 30 minutes and 2 hours, maybe, and then inside the country. We'll do that one next year.
Yeah.
So give us a bit of a market update. I know we're going to be talking about Golden Week and Chinese New Year and everything like that in a little bit,
Yeah.
but what are you seeing at the moment? I know that it's a bit of chaos still, right? Which is really weird because holidays have passed, but deliveries, I don't think, made it.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. The weather's causing a lot of issues this week. So I think anything last minute really got stuck and was a bit chaotic. I think, yeah, still people are trying to think that we can go back to the last minute or the shorter performance piece, and we're just not there yet. We're just not seeing that consistency, we're not seeing reliability, and we're not seeing performance. So that's across the board, that's at ports, that's in different transport modes. It is still a bit unreliable and inconsistent. As far as the Vancouver situation, that seems to have cleared up a little bit, but of course the volumes have dropped, I think, by 70-something%.
What?
So we had our peak season was extended, but now you have bare minimum is sort of coming in. So of course it's a lot faster. We do have, Europe was fairly, still going. I've still got deliveries going on this week. So a lot of people trying to make a big 2022 year end,
Push.
kind of push. So
Yeah. That is crazy. And actually, I pulled up a chart because I saw an article the other day on porch pirates. I know it's got nothing to do with like delivering into warehouses, but it's got to do with that last mile piece and actually which states are the worst for porch pirates. But before I get into that, I just want to say hi to Davin. He says happy holidays to both of us. Safe and Siva and Bill over on my personal LinkedIn. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And if you have a question or anything that you'd like to post, make sure to post it in the comments. We'll put it on the screen. We want to make sure that this is interactive and that we get to all of your questions and your comments and whatever you want to talk about for supply chain. So this is the porch pirate map that I kind of came up that I found. So the top 10 metros, because last week we were talking about cybersecurity, we were talking about supply chain theft and all of those kind of things. And now we've got the Far Eye live show, we've got the Overhaul live show, and they're both talking about supply chain theft, last mile delivery. Like, what is that piece to really cover customer experience, right? Which is huge, huge, huge. And part of that is theft. And part of that is the porch pirates. Yeah. So the top 10 metros where porch pirates strike the most, okay? I need a drum roll. Number 1 is San Francisco. 2 is Seattle. 3 is Austin, Texas. 4 is Hartford, Connecticut. 5, Sacramento, California. There's a lot of California on this list. 6 is Los Angeles. 7 is Portland, Oregon. 8 is Fresno, California. 9 is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You would think with those temperatures, nobody wants to be out and going porch to porch. Just saying. And 10 is New Orleans, Louisiana. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I was, like I said, I was reading an article about it and it kind of struck me as to, what are we doing in those states as far as, that last, it's not even really the last mile. It's like the last couple of feet to make sure that our goods and our deliveries are protected as far as supply chain is concerned. Does this surprise you at all?
Not really. I think there are socioeconomic considerations for all of the places that were named. When you think about San Francisco, we think about it as sort of maybe a more expensive city to live in, so the value of the packages might be a lot higher. The accessibility from sidewalk to door, if you're in the downtown core, from what I remember, your steps and your porch are like right there, so it's not really like going across somebody's lawn. Yeah. In the same way, I feel like maybe in Milwaukee they're using snowmobiles and really making it a thing. It's tough because it's not really a supply chain; it's a socioeconomic kind of situation. So I mean, there are some bad apples who are always gonna that's gonna be their their thing.
Well, and I think next week, on next week's Thoughts and Coffee, we're talking about drone deliveries.
Right?
And because Walmart has specifically targeted and they're already doing drone deliveries
Yeah.
to your door. One of the funny things, it's got to do with eggs, and you'll find out when you watch next week. But I was like, drones and eggs, not sure, but
Yeah.
okay. We'll take your word for it. But those types of things too. Like, it's one thing to have a drone delivery deliver your package to your door, but then it's not really helping with this aspect of the supply chain and of the delivery and things like that. And Audrey, it looks like her Wi-Fi has cut out. So you've only got me for now while we wait for her to come back. And anyways, if you have any thoughts or suggestions on that article, I know I didn't give AJ that link, so I will post it on my personal LinkedIn page so you guys can go and check out that article as well. But I think we need to come up with something, that people can have on their porch that kind of protects their deliveries. I mean, what is the answer? I don't know. I don't know what that solution is. All right, I'm going to start by talking about the next article, and hopefully Audrey is going to come back. But I thought this was kind of funny, right? Can compostable undies prevent waste? Now, Audrey and I have talked a lot about fashion. There she is. She's back. Hey, Audrey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So we're on our first article. Can
Nice.
compostable undies prevent waste? Now, you and I have talked a lot about fast fashion, right? And what it's doing to our landfills. And again, I'm going to mention that number. It's 11 million pounds of clothes end up in the landfill every single year. The reason why we want to talk about this a lot is because this is part of the challenge when it comes to climate change.
Yeah.
And we need to have made those changes yesterday. And so we want to keep reiterating what this actually means for us, for the waste, for our planet, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this one I thought was kind of funny because we haven't particularly talked about this particular garment. But there's a couple of companies that are doing things in this space to really help remove some of those pounds out of the landfill. So Nikki is repurposing underwear. And Kent has actually underwear that composts within 90 days. Now, is this something that you would actually buy? Because the challenge that they're having right now, first of all, is that it costs obviously 3 to 4 times more than a regular pair of underwear. And second of all, even if you make them compostable, not everybody has a compost bin at home.
Yeah, again, you're running into the issue that most biodegradable products face, which is they're only biodegradable in very specific conditions that, like, the studies are like 80% of the time they aren't meeting. So they're still in landfill because the landfill requires like X amount of, sunlight exposure turn. They have to be churned so that they're, and same with compost. So I don't know. We keep doing this. It's the same thing.
I know, but at least we have options, right? This company called Nikki, you'll find some of the links to some of those companies in the link that we've just posted for you all. And I will be posting that on my personal LinkedIn in just a minute. But there's a couple of companies, at least, if this is something that you want to be doing, right? Rather than buying the fast fashion and you want to pick more sustainable options, we want to be able to give you those options and give you an idea of what is out there on the market, because we're inundated, right, with ads of the fast fashion, of the Sheins of the world and all of that. And so we want to make sure that you have those options, because some people do want to make better choices and want to want to have those options. And so we definitely want
Yeah, and
to provide
the
that.
fabric knowledge isn't there. People don't understand what fabrics are good anymore, what that actually means in terms of use of resources, use of water. So
That is true, because I heard that jeans actually take a lot of water to make, which I was really surprised at.
a conference t-shirt takes like almost as much as jeans. The t-shirts that people just hand out for free all the time, those t-shirts have a massive impact on water use and
The ones at
energy use.
conferences.
Yeah,
All
the ones that
right.
people toss out at sports, it'd be like, here, get this free t-shirt. It's like those have a massive impact.
Well, especially if you're not taking them and using them.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're thinking about bringing t-shirts to a conference and giving those out, make sure that they are eco-friendly. I know in our store, we have started to put eco-friendly products up there with the actual tag that says eco-friendly, so that you know that they're using fabrics that are good for the environment, or at least, that aren't.
Reusable or have been, previously used. Yeah, not
Yeah, so if
virgin
you're doing
threads. Yeah.
any of that buying, just make sure, because that's not good. We don't want you to contribute to it either. We're already contributing to it with our supply chains, right?
Yeah.
All right. So our next article, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I was quoted in Forbes in a SAP article by Richard Howells just the other week. It was December 15th. Super excited to be included in this particular article. And actually, we spoke a little bit about it last week. I think last week or the week. Anyways, we've spoken about it before. And then I've got Richard coming on Thoughts and Coffee in January to actually expand on this article, because when we write these kind of articles that end up in Forbes, they get cut down a lot. And so I want to know from him what was cut out, right? And what are the other things that we need to know? Because this is talking about 2023 supply chain predictions. Now, you guys asked for this, right? Bayram asked for this a couple of weeks ago. Where are the trends? Where are the predictions?
Yeah.
And I was like, stay with me, because I will get there. I don't want to do them too early, but we want to do it in a time where people actually have the time to absorb the information, potentially start putting things into practice and thinking about the new year. And so that's why I wanted to touch on this particular article. One quote in here says 90% of executives are looking at onshoring or nearshoring. And so what they're calling it is China plus one. And this is the way that they're going to de-risk their supply chains. What do you think about this? Because we've talked about onshoring, nearshoring, sureshoring. To me, is it really de-risking? Because I think we're just picking up another set of risks potentially.
I mean, that's the debate, but I think all along I've maintained that you have to understand your supply chain and what your risks are. And each industry, each type of business, are you delivering business to business, or are you delivering direct to a customer? I mean, the risks are very different for each of those types of businesses. And for people to apply like, oh, they're sure shoring, so I'm going to do that too. Like they're onshoring, they're friendshoring, they're like, okay, shore your stuff, but like understand where you're shoring it and why you're doing that, and you know what the actual risks are. And I think again, people want to just have a model to follow. That's why people want this, like, oh, tell me what the trend is, or tell me what other people what are other businesses doing. And you're like, that's not going to cut it. You really have to look into what your business does, what your deliverables are. If you're public, if you have shareholders, if you have management, what the expectations are for performance, and really look there. I do expect that the China plus moving out of China conversation is big. When we started talking about it 4 or 5 years ago, especially around tariffs, it would take that amount of time for a business to actually make that move. It's not overnight when you make these decisions. And when you've been somewhere, as a lot of businesses have been in China for 10, 15, 25 years, you've built, you don't realize the extent of relationships or internal infrastructure that you've built up to maintain or to have that run smoothly. So to think that I can just show up in Mexico or show up in Vietnam, even though they're doing great things there, they've redesigned a lot of their infrastructure. They're encouraging markets now. There's free trade agreements that you can tack into. Fine, but like, do I speak Spanish?
Yeah,
because you're going to need to.
Somebody.
Do you have a lawyer who reads and writes in Spanish? Because you're going to need one of those. Like all the things that you did, and maybe you didn't even do them because they were done 15 years ago in China. You're going to have to recreate that somewhere, and it's not always, getting closer is good, but it's the agility, right? But it's really understanding what it is you do, what the risks are directly to your product type or your business type.
Yeah.
Understanding those expectations of your shareholders, your management, or and then understanding the performance that you need to deliver to your customer, business or direct to consumer.
Yeah, tariffs are super important. Like if you've had to move any of your raw materials, move purchasing some of your raw materials to
Recheck your agreement.
other particular countries, I mean, what are they close to, right? Have you moved it to
Yeah,
South America? Is it closer to go to the US? I mean, think
yeah,
about South America to Vietnam. I mean, you
yeah,
might end up having to air freight
yeah,
because, ocean freight's going to take too long or it
yeah,
just doesn't make any sense. And so those costs go up. And so there's a ton of variables that you
yeah,
have to think about. And I think the other thing is visibility, both internally and
yeah,
externally. Right. I think at the end of the day, we all talk about visibility externally, what technology can give
yeah.
us, how we can track our packages. But there's so much more because
Mhm.
internally, what are we doing? Are we
Yeah,
talking to all the departments that are going to touch every piece of this? Are we
yeah,
talking to every vendor that
yeah,
touches every piece of this? Are we talking to experts in free trade?
yeah,
Right? That can help us take advantage of free trade agreements, that can help us understand, or even logistics partners help us understand what it means to go from one country to another. And
yeah.
are there embargoes and things like that? Two other things that I just want to mention. So at the end of the article, it says, we've now got a seat at the table. Supply chain's got a seat at the table, but be careful what you wish for. That's
Yeah.
what Richard said. And then he also said at the end, supply chain leadership is not for the faint of heart. So
Yeah.
bear with me because in January, I'm going to ask him why he said all of that because I think it's really, really important. All right. The next
Absolutely.
article that I really want to touch on is record blank sailings because
Yeah.
the freight rates are taking a dive.
Yeah.
And I want Audrey to give us just an idea of Golden Week and Chinese New Year. What are some of the dates? What are we looking for? That kind of thing. Because the rates are coming down, but that is not necessarily a good thing. A lot of people wanted the rates to come down, but now the ships aren't sailing because they're not full. And that's why the rates are coming down. And like you think that we would have learned something over the last couple of years, but apparently we're still in chaos. Audrey?
It's it's so aggravating, like not to be undiplomatic, which I always am anyways, but it's so aggravating. I don't need a 1646 US dollar 40-foot box if it's not going to move.
Ooh.
What does that do for me? I $3,500 and it gets on a boat and goes that week. I'm interested. Like, come on. I am a little surprised. I know Lars Jensen has talked about it. I know it goes into this in the article. Like right back to what they were doing before, which was not working. So
I know. And actually,
aggravated.
just to give you an idea of what some of these freight rates and what this chaos actually does. So, freight
Yeah,
forwarders are actually holding off quoting customers, which isn't helping anybody because you need to move your goods, right?
yeah,
But the reason why they're holding off is A, because they think they're going to get cheaper rates in a week. And then their customers are going to compare them to rates that they've gotten that week. And then they lose out on the business.
yeah.
Right. I think the second part of it is that they're very scared of hefty additional charges. And so what happens
Oh,
when
yeah,
you quote
yeah.
the 1646 this week, additional charges come in next week, you have to put those on and then you might lose the business anyways. So there's a lot of really
Yeah.
unsettling chaos happening right now with the freight rates and everybody not really sure where they're landing.
When management makes you shop by per CBM rates, like it is not a good idea because there are accessorial charges. So to come to me and tell me that it's like, oh, it's this much per box. Yeah, that's to move it from a port to a port.
Yeah.
And that doesn't include GRI. It doesn't include if it's peak season, which it isn't anymore. It doesn't include a premium surcharge if we are talking about sort of Lunar New Year, which is upcoming. Chinese New Year, which is coming up on January 22nd, which means that if your stuff isn't out by like Jan 10th, it may not get out before that holiday because as per routine, there are blank sailings at that time of year, usually those 2 weeks between about the 3 or 4 days before the holiday, and then a week to 2 weeks, sometimes even 3 after that, right? Because it's a bit hard to get back in that flow. But that's standard. That's every year. It's been like that since I've been in the industry. So it's expected. I think that the issue with blank sailings is the inconsistency because it is a vessel waiting for the volume to be there. So then it randomly, sort of goes when it goes, which could be in 2 weeks, depending on the volume for 2023, who knows? It could be 3 weeks. Like that's very unreliable. So
Yeah.
it just throws that people just want consistency, especially after 2 years of absolute chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And so then with the Forbes being challenged to give pricing, you have to make a decision. It's going to be more expensive. I can't go to my teams and give them the price on the market. I have to give them a sort of an estimated rate based on all of these accessory charges that we pay, based on the potential for GRI that maybe won't start in January, but it's definitely going to come through starting in April, May. The challenges continue.
Well, so we wanted lower rates, but then lower rates end up with chaos, the chaos that we had pre-pandemic.
And I would say I didn't want to pay 25,000 US a container anymore, but I didn't mean 1,500 plus, which like I say, doesn't actually pay for the container.
Right.
Like they use this language where they're like, oh, it's this. You're like, but it doesn't include this. And then decarbonization is coming. And you're like, and then the carriers are like, well, just charge the customer. And you're like, you've just eaten $25,000 a container from me for like a year, or maybe 16,000, it's dropped down. And you couldn't take any of that money and like put it into decarb.
Mm-hmm. So I guess only time will tell, because we're going to see what's going to happen. But actually, the steamship lines in this particular article said we're only as good as our last month, not the billions that we made this year.
No,
I'm going to leave you.
Sure.
I'm going to leave you with that, because we have come to the end of the show. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us. Audrey's coming back next week with me, and we're going to be talking about so much more. Plus, we're going to have an update on maple syrup. Anyways,
new year, new maple syrup.
See you later.